Fantastic. Kitos Maori, welcome. Great to have you. And he's come with baskets full of wild edible plants. You are in for a treat.
I visited yesterday evening nearby nature, and I picked a couple of plants to motivate you. First one is Norway spruce, and it's annual shoots called kerkka in Finnish. They are very tasty and helpful. The second one is, you all know it, is dandelion. It's one of the best vegetables that we have compared to all life and living and cultured and wild edibles. And then there is wild strawberry. We usually eat only fruits, but also flowers and leaves are very healthy. You can make boiled mixtures of wild edibles, and these leaves contain as much about health-promoting phytochemicals and other substances than berries. I just take a couple more. Those ones which survived overnight. Cow parsley is perhaps a little bit not so well known, but at least in Finland it's rather easy to learn to know. But this carrot family, it contains also many lethal plants. It's better to know exactly what are you doing. It's, for instance, helps your joints. Then there is rowan. Its leaves are also edible and health promoting. Another rowan. Raspberry leaves. Raspberry fruits are familiar, everybody enjoys them, but raspberry leaves are also very healthy. And of course, this blackcurrant fruits are, berries are healthy, but also leaves. And now when we know what kind of plants, at least 75 is in Finland, which are common, which I may just, I take, okay, it came already here, which have a long history of use, thousands or at least hundreds of years, and extensive distribution globally, and experimental research on what health and longevity promoting substances they contain. Those are the plants that I am interested in. How do we know that all green wild edible vascular plants contain at least 56 health and longevity promoting substances? For instance, all those. And of those 56, at least 16 prevent Alzheimer's disease. There are experiments. There are cultured, just a moment, in vitro experiments. We can culture cancer cell lines and healthy cell lines, and we can, researchers have demonstrated that, shown that there are phytochemicals which kill cancer cells and leave healthy normal cells intact. And for instance, quercetin, which is in many white edible plants, is that kind of phytochemical. Then there are in vivo experiments, living animals. They are often cruel experiments, and animals are damaged. And as far as I know, in the European Union, they are not anymore allowed, at least not liked. But in Asian countries, they do this kind of research. They damage chemically and physically animals and then heal by phytochemicals. And I think this is the most convincing way to show that these substances both heal and prevent diseases. Then there are clinical experiments, and human volunteers test the effects of phytochemicals. And for instance, that cow parsley, it contains substances which prevent and heal arthritis here, and cow parsley has substances which heal it. And then there are silico experiments when chemists have deep enough knowledge about substances, they can do that kind of experiments where data is given to the program and they can demonstrate how these substances probably work. But as far as I understand, it's better than to test the earlier ones. But I know there are many in silico experiments done. First, I have many years researched those articles. After my retirement, 86 years, I had to retire. Now I'm 76, and I have read hundreds, if not thousands, of articles, and I have found that at least 100 or 200 substances in each species promote health and longevity according to experimental research. And in the end of this representation, I will show you the title of the article, my first article. Okay, thanks. Very good. Thanks. This helps me very much. 56 substances are in all green vascular plants. They are higher plants, flowering plants and ferns. They are part of the structure and basic processes. They are in the cell walls. They are in cytoplasm. They are in just a moment, it comes into my mind. That greens, any case, green was photosynthesis particles. They include many of these. They are in all green vascular plants. Let's see. In the 20th century, researchers found that one of the healthiest diets was the Mediterranean diet. And let's have a look of what we have here. There's plenty of salad. There is, in the middle is octopus. This is octopus salad. There are sliced species of octopus tentacles. On the top of it is sauce that is made of orange juice. And these are the main elements. And the drink is non-alcoholic drink. 2000 non-alcoholic beer. 2021 it was showed that non-alcoholic beer promotes health. For sure, ordinary water, as the two ladies who accompanied me during that lunch, they drank water at this time. And how have researchers come to this conclusion that Mediterranean diet is the best one? First, there is cumulative research evidence from 1950s. People have done research in many countries, in many populations. The part population one was in Crete and one was in Finland. It was cardiovascular system they first studied, and how long people live. And 1970s, they published the first report. About 20 years they gathered data and analyzed it. And after that, continually, again and again, it seems that the Mediterranean diet is the most healthier one. For sure, there is new Nordic cuisine, new Nordic diet, which includes plenty of berries, whole grain, rye, and so on. But the most studied is the Mediterranean diet. And the Mediterranean diet, it varies from region to region. However, the common elements, at least in countryside, are where healthiest people are wild edible plants, and they are very similar, most of the Mediterranean, actually most of Europe. And extra virgin olive oil, goat cheese, very little red meat, fruits, including berries and including citrus fruits, olives, fish and other seafood, whole grain bread, yogurt, and so on. There are variation. Use of wild edible plants makes sense only as a part of entire healthy diet and lifestyle. What you drink and with whom you drink and how you forage or what you eat from nature all have influence. One of the original Mediterranean diet components is the use of wild edible plants. They are often edible weeds that have spread extensively all over the globe with agriculture. 2019, when I first published, the first book I published, I went through list what people eat in different parts of the world, and the same plants come over and over again. For sure there were variation, local variation, but these edible weeds, they are practically everywhere where there is human agriculture. For sure in tropics it's a little bit different, but also there are some these plants. But that kind of temperate and subtropical climate, there are those plants. In the 20th century, researchers tried to explain wild edible plants' healthiness using the plant's mineral, vitamins, and unsaturated fatty acids. And many people are stuck to this period. They don't understand the second phase, exponential growth of research. 21st century research has centered on secondary metabolites. These minerals and vitamins and so on, they are offering primary metabolites, but these are secondary. Without these, plants can survive, but they protect plants against viruses, bacteria, fungi, and other external threats. Researchers have identified thousands of phytochemicals and other substances in wild edible plants. Maybe a couple of tens of thousands is But I have found experimental evidence that at least hundreds of them promote health. Researchers have not had time enough to test all of them, but hundreds promote health. And many phytochemicals, they are similar to, they are shared with many plants. For instance, many berries like raspberries, they say they contain L-lactic acid and L-lactic tannin for sure, but also fireweed, Epilium angustifolium, it contains also the same kind of similar substances. Most phytochemicals are toxic in large doses. This is why researchers don't like those kind of condensed versions. They like to eat them in real plants because phytochemicals promote human health in mixtures in small amounts working together, increasing their impact synergistically. But when phytochemicals are tested, then the concentration, they start to test different concentrations, and the level is often rather high, so how that they don't use that kind of levels in real human body, but it has experimentally shown that, for instance, in flavonoids, that a couple of flavonoids together has much greater impact to health than these separately. These synergistic actions of phytochemicals in human metabolism have implications for how the Mediterraneans cook most of the wild edible plants. According to research, over 70% what Mediterraneans eat is boiled mixtures of wild edible plants. Often the first water is kind of wasted, and after that it's used in pastries and other ways, even used as such with extra virgin olive oil, citrus juice, and in hot climate also salt. Resveratrol is an example of health and longevity promoting phytochemical, and it became well known because of the so-called French paradox. Frenchmen are drinking red wine, and however they lived long and healthy life. And nowadays researchers have come to conclusion that no amount of alcohol itself is healthy for you, but resveratrol anyhow seems to be healthy in as mixtures with other phytochemicals. And the question, how does it promote health and longevity? We know, researchers know, biochemical mechanism, what is happening in human body. I don't go that kind of detail. It's very easy to find in research papers. I only tell 3 properties of resveratrol, how it promotes health. There are actually at least 12 of them. I have taken only 3 which are according to which are similar the basic idea of this meeting. They are resveratrol as well as anti-aging. It protects Alzheimer's disease and contributes to the maintenance of genome stability, which promotes longer and healthier life. You may be interested why I'm highlighting importance of protection and prevention of Alzheimer's disease. It is because my sister dies of Alzheimer's disease, and I have tried to prevent it by eating those wild edible plants. And as far as I understand research, they ought to prevent it. It can't, nowadays it can't be cured, but it can be at least delayed and perhaps prevented. Examples of wild edible plants that contain resveratrol, leaves of Japanese knotweed, for sure rhizome contains also, but I use these plants in sustainable ways. I take only the tops of which are soft and where are most phytochemicals. So all the time I get new ones. And I know it's invasive plant, and there are people who try to eradicate it from Europe, but I think it's a very good wild edible plant. Berries of lingonberry, red berries, leaves and berries of European blueberry, and flowers and leaves of yarrow. Yarrow is a medicinal plant, and it's wise to use only as a spice. In 2019, I saw that many wild edible plants are weeds that agriculture has spread worldwide. Where people went and started agriculture, then there are those wild edible weeds. In Italy, they are called alimergic plants. It means they are plants that are eaten during famine, when there is wartime and loss of harvest, nothing else. There are edible, wild edible weeds. And nowadays, as you know, top chefs are making gourmet dishes out of these plants. In 2020, I saw that there are over 90 wild edible plants that have a long history of use and extensive distribution and experimental research to prove that they promote health and longevity. For sure, there are many which people say by tradition that this is edible and this is edible, but if there is no research to support it, for instance, Tussilako farfara, I don't remember now its English name, but it's many people are still eating all over the world. However, it contains those kind of alkaloids which destroy your liver. Tradition itself, long history of use, it's not guarantee that these are good plants. You need also experimental research. In 2021, I wrote my fourth book, Health from Local Nature in Finnish, and there are descriptions of 75 wild edible plants, and in each description there is English paragraphs with new references and update of earlier conclusions. My first peer-reviewed article was published in Food Frontiers, and a profound explanation of why eating green wild edible plants promote health and longevity. It was 2021, and the research is really increasing exponentially. In the beginning of this year, it finally get published in 27th of April this year. I was able to show that there are research evidence that over at least 56 substances are in all green wild edible plants that promote health because they are part of their structure and they are part of the basic living processes. And actually, there is about 3 minutes left, 2 minutes, 51 seconds. If somebody has a question, I may ask. You may ask, and I try to answer. Any questions? No, okay, I can tell a little bit more. I am nowadays, because of my leg, I have sat so much and written and read that I have arthritis here. I don't like to be on slippery times here in Finland. I am winters in Tenerife, when here is icy roads and slippery. I am in Tenerife, and there I can collect from nature all year round wild edible plants. There are a little bit different species. In 2020 book, this one, there are about 15 to 20 species which are only in tropical and subtropical vegetation zones. And actually I have learned even more nowadays. When the next book comes, there may be those species. This book is 584 pages, and there are a couple of thousand references. My idea is that all claims I make reference. You can check everything. For sure, my health nowadays is not good as I would like, but I can guarantee that I was as slim and strong as the young men here when I was young. But